Hey there, folks! We're thrilled to have you with us on this incredible journey through history. If you love exploring ancient civilizations as much as we do, make sure you hit that subscribe button. Like our videos and drop a comment to let us know what you think. Your support helps us bring you more amazing discoveries from the past. Thanks for being part of our adventure.
Incredible Maya discoveries that don't match human history.
Archaeologists have just uncovered a 3,000-year-old city hidden deep in the Guatemalan jungle. In Belize, they also found the long-lost tomb of the very first king of Caracol. And thanks to new laser scans, researchers now know that the Maya world was way more crowded than anyone ever imagined. These are stunning discoveries that completely change what we thought we knew about history.
Recently, a Maya city nearly 3,000 years old was discovered in Guatemala. It's called Los Sapos, which means the ancestors.
Experts believe it dates back to somewhere between 800 and 500 BC, making it one of the oldest and most important ceremonial centers of the Maya in this part of Guatemala.
The site covers about 6 square miles and got its name from 2 large rock statues shaped like human figures, which archaeologists think represent ancestral couples, hence the name the Ancestors. The layout of the city is also impressive, with stunning architecture including pyramids, shrines and monuments. Some of the artifacts, dating from around 500 to 300 BC, may have been linked to ancient rituals and even ancestral war vessels. One of the highlights is a pyramid that stands 108 feet tall. Nearby, archaeologists also found water channels running through a palace, proof that the Maya were already experimenting with plumbing thousands of years ago. Los Sapos isn't just a single site either. It's part of 3 connected cities forming a triangle, suggesting careful urban planning and coordination. According to archaeologists, these finds are challenging everything we thought we knew about how the Maya organized their ceremonial centers.
For over 40 years, husband and wife team Arlen and Diane Chase from the University of Houston have been excavating Caracol and Belize. They recently uncovered the tomb of Tecabchak, the very first ruler of Caracol and founder of its royal dynasty.
Caracol was once a major Maya city that dominated the southern Yucatan Peninsula between 560 and 680 AD before it was eventually abandoned. This was the first royal tomb ever found at the site in more than 4 decades of research. Tecabchak, who became king in 331 AD, was buried at the base of a royal shrine with an incredible collection of artifacts. Painted pottery showing rulers and captives, finely carved bone tubes, jade jewelry, a mask made of tiny jade fragments, and seashells from the Pacific Ocean. The Chases estimate the king stood about 170 cm tall and was already very old when he died. He had no teeth left by then. His tomb is the earliest of 3 major burials in Caracol's northeast acropolis, dating back to around 350 AD, a period when the Maya were already in contact with the distant Mexican city of Teotihuacan. One big question that has puzzled Maya archaeologists since the 1960s is whether the people of Teotihuacan introduced a new political system into Maya lands. As Arlen Chase explains, both regions were clearly aware of each other's rituals. Early Maya kings, like those in Tikal, even established formal diplomatic ties with Teotihuacan.
Thanks to modern laser scanning, or LiDAR, researchers now have a much better picture of just how populated the Maya world really was. Scientists used this technology across Guatemala, Belize, and Mexico, and the results were shocking.
Until now, experts estimated the Maya population at around 11 million between 600 and 900 AD. But with new data, that number has jumped to 16 million. Francisco Estrada Belli, lead researcher and professor at Tulane University, explained, "We expected a slight increase based on our 2018 LiDAR studies, but seeing a 45% jump was truly surprising."
This new evidence shows just how dense and well-organized Maya society really was at its peak. Both cities and rural areas followed the same planning pattern. A central plaza dominated by the elite, with houses and farmland spreading around it. Almost every mapped building sat within 3 miles of a public plaza, meaning even rural villages were tied into urban life.
The northern Maya lowlands turned out to be far more urbanized than anyone thought, which also explains the higher population figures. But that massive population growth may have fueled political and environmental problems, eventually contributing to the Maya collapse around 800 to 1000 AD.
In another site called Dos Pilas in Guatemala, archaeologists have been studying a cave ominously named the Cave of Blood. The name is no exaggeration.
Back in the early 1990s, excavations uncovered piles of human bones, but only recently have researchers been able to properly examine them. The bones show clear signs of ritual cutting. These weren't normal burials. More than 100 skeletal fragments dated between 400 BC and 250 AD include skulls and bones marked by ceremonial mutilation.
The bones showed clean-cut marks, which means sharp tools, like axes, were used either at the time of death or shortly after. Researchers believe these body parts were offered to the Maya rain gods in an attempt to end devastating droughts. Skulls were stacked into columns on the cave floor, mixed with red ochre pigments and obsidian blades.
For the Maya, caves were sacred places tied to life, death, rain, and fertility. In this case, the Cave of Blood may have played a major role in both water control and political power. Archaeologists suggest that Maya rulers may have carried out these brutal rituals to keep control of the population, using terrifying ceremonies to keep people in line.
In Guatemala, archaeologists also uncovered evidence of a massive fire at the Maya site of Ucanal, sometime between 733 and 881 AD, and it probably wasn't accidental.
The team says the fire looked like a public dismantling of the old order. They found burned human remains along with treasures like a jewel-covered stone mask, pieces of a royal crown, and jade ornaments, objects taken from a royal tomb and thrown into the flames.
According to researchers, it seems to have been an intentional act of desecration. No effort was made to protect the bones or treasures. The whole point was shock value, for everyone watching to feel the impact.
After the flames died down, a new leader, who wasn't part of the royal family, took control. Meanwhile, in Campeche, Mexico, archaeologists discovered a hidden underground Maya structure beneath a ballcourt. Excavation leader Ivan Sprach explained that his team uncovered traces of an older building with painted walls. More digging will reveal its full shape and purpose. This find matters because ballcourts were usually only built at major Maya centers that served as political hubs for the region.
On top of a pyramid at a nearby site, the team also found offerings left centuries later: pottery, a ceramic animal leg, possibly from an armadillo, and a spearhead. Sprite says these artifacts date to the late post-classic period, around 1250 to 1524 AD, long after most Maya cities had collapsed. Even then, small, poor groups of people were still wandering the ruins, leaving offerings at the temples of their ancestors.
In another Guatemalan site called Tikal, archaeologists stumbled upon something strange, just a few steps from the city centre. It was a foreign-style altar surrounded by skeletons. The altar itself didn't look Maya at all. It resembled something from Teotihuacan, the massive city about 1,000 kilometers away in central Mexico. The altar, painted red, black, and yellow, was decorated with images of gods and buried inside a residential complex. Around it lay the remains of at least 3 children.
Professor Stephen Houston asked the obvious question: were they sacrificed? At this point it's hard to say for sure, but the fact that they were buried together at the same time and at the same age strongly points to ritual sacrifice. He added that the purpose may have been to give the altar special powers. This ties into a much bigger story. Records show that in 378 AD, warriors from Teotihuacan appeared in Tikal, overthrew the king, and installed their own man on the throne. About 100 years later, the Maya deliberately buried the entire site and abandoned it, almost as if they wanted to erase it from history.
Fast forward to 2015, archaeologists in Guatemala made a chilling find: an obsidian arrowhead still stained with human blood. They believe it was part of a ritual. The discovery inside a temple dates back roughly 500 years. Bloodletting was a crucial part of Maya culture. They believed human blood carried a person's life force, and that spilling it was a way to feed the gods. As researcher Prudence Rice explained, bloodletting was seen as nourishing the gods with humanity's essential life energy. People would cut themselves with obsidian blades, often through the earlobes or tongue. Painful, yes. But at least they weren't cutting, well, their private parts. Except sometimes they did. Let's just say I'll stop the description there. Now, how about something sweeter?
Who can say no to old-fashioned chocolate coins? It turns out the idea may be older than we thought, dating back to the ancient Maya themselves. The Maya didn't have coins like we do. Their economy was mostly based on bartering, like many ancient societies. But in 2018, researchers uncovered evidence that they basically had edible money, chocolate. We already knew the Maya loved chocolate, usually as a hot drink. But new studies of ancient art revealed it was more than just a treat. It was currency. Wall paintings, decorated pottery, and carvings from the Maya Classic period, 250 to 900 AD, show market scenes where cacao was traded. By the 7th century, liquid chocolate was mostly used for bartering, but by the 8th century, cacao beans themselves had become like real money, even used for paying taxes. Researchers studied about 180 depictions of tribute being presented to rulers. Along with tobacco and maize, the most common offerings were woven cloth and cacao beans.
And the discoveries just keep coming. In 2023, archaeologists announced they had uncovered a lost Maya city hidden in the forests of Mexico's Yucatan Peninsula inside the Balamcu Ecological Reserve. The ruins are called Ocomtun, which means stone column in the local Mayan language, named after the cylindrical stone columns scattered across the site. Lead archaeologist Ivan Sprach explained that the biggest surprise was its location, built on a raised strip of land surrounded by wetlands.
In other words, the city stood like an island in the middle of swampy jungle. The city center is massive, covering more than 120 acres with plazas, pyramids up to 50 feet tall, and of course, a ball court. For the Maya, ball games weren't just sport. They symbolized cosmic battles like the struggle between night and day, or the cycles of agriculture. Based on the architecture, Ocomtun was likely occupied between 250 and 1000 AD, before being abandoned during the Great Maya Collapse.
I've been your host, James, and yes, you,